can do that. If it gets too late, I will. Okay. All right. Oh, we're good. Chair, and I would like to call this meeting to order. Before we get started, I want to welcome Gordon Myers to the council. I have failed to do that the past two meetings. He's replaced John Shoemaker as president of the United Methodist Men, so welcome and thank you. And I also want to thank Sydney for taking the minutes this evening.
Y'all probably didn't notice, but first weekend that parents get to see their knob or freshman after they've gone through Hell Week. Important thing for parents. I was thinking about it and thinking about this ring that I got 18 years ago. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. When we think about discipline and the rewards that come from it, so that we can see the benefits that come from that. But the writer in Hebrews is reflecting differently. He's referencing discipline of God, just as a parent disciplines a child. Sin. And there are times when we're simply being given the opportunity for growth, being trained into a deeper faith. This is obvious in the relationship between a parent and child, where a loving parent disciplines his child. They are today. The writer of Hebrews points out that nobody likes telling them God is with us, and there is purpose in our struggles. Though our church and our community and our world may be experiencing difficult times, we must rest assured that in the discipline we are experiencing, it will lead us to righteousness and peace. Please pray with me. Lord, we ask that you would be with us tonight as we continue your work in this church to make disciplines of Jesus Christ. We ask that you would be with the Street family during this time of loss and that you would hold them in your loving arms. We continue to ask for those affected by Hurricane Helene. We ask that you would please bless them and keep them. Lord, and we also are thoughtful of those that are in the path of Milton as it now comes towards the United States. Please lead us in peace and righteousness through these struggles and give us discipline as we endure. In your heavenly name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Ross. You have the August and September minutes in your packet, and I know you've had plenty of time to read them, so I will entertain a motion to approve them. All right. Did you get that, Sydney, Sherry? And do I have a second? Okay, Jane. And is there any discussion? All right. Then all those in favor of approval of the August and September minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. And the minutes are approved. All right, now I'm going to turn it over to Terry Larkin, Chair of Finance.
Good evening. To some, numbers are boring. This is my life. So, okay, here we go. It's kind of a thick packet. It's 15 pages long. So what I've tried to do for you is to do a summation. As you're aware, our offerings are down a little bit this year, and the number for that right as of today, and it ebbs and flows every week, is down to about 21% off of last year. Therefore, when reviewing this budget, we have made a 26.8% decrease in what we guess that our offerings will come, or contributions will come in next year. BCLC is running very efficiently. We did increase tuition by $25 in August. We had talked about another increase, but don't feel that that's necessary at this time. We are staying pretty steady to the other daycares in the area. We have a waiting list. If needed, we will look at another increase next August. This is to offset operational expenses and teacher salaries. We did obtain a $60,000 grant, thank you, Amanda, to help offset with some of that salary expense. So then if you go down to page 4, there's an interesting note. We moved our banking relationship a couple months, actually it was in April, to South Atlantic Bank, and we put all of our money into an investment cash sweep where we're earning currently a 5% rate on those funds. For those of you that understand FDIC insurance, it is all insured and secure, so we're not going to have a potential of losing any money, but that has helped increase our interest and dividend income stated there on page 4. We are estimating that 5% will stay through April of 2025. We're guessing that the amount of income that we should have for 2025 is about $100,000 from that. So that being said, total revenues budgeted are going to be down by about 16.6%, taking our budget from 5.3 in revenues down to 4.4 million. So the question is, what do we do now? So we have looked at where we can, and we're trying to make cuts where possible. So in summation, we're estimating that the total admin expenses will be cut 2% overall. Technology expenses should remain constant. We were able to make a communications and marketing expense decrease of 25.4% for a total G&A decrease of 3.4%. Light bills don't change, they only go up, so we're going to keep that the same. Maintenance, we're estimating or hoping will go down about 3.7%. That would be more, but our insurance is going to increase by about $16,000 next year. Paul over here is working really hard to try to find some additional solutions to that, so if you have any insurance agents that want to give Paul a call, have them call him. So that being said, the total G&A and property expenses we're hoping to decrease those by about 3%. Page 7 is one of my favorites. Those are apportionments. This needs a little bit of explanation this year. We are slated to receive a $20,094 rebate credit on our apportionments for 2025. These funds are credits received and allocated by the church. They're being paid by exit fees from other churches that are exiting the United Methodist Church. So all in all, on page 7, you will see that our total apportionments are decreasing from $291,000 to $289,000. So it's a small decrease. They would have gone up, but with the credits, we remained under budget. Compensation, the hardest thing on this budget to deal with at this point. Compensation is budgeted to decrease about 1%. There are no plans to have any type of staff reductions or pay cuts at this time. The reduction that you see is just a natural attrition of anyone that may leave. There are no plans to refill that position. On page 9, programs were studied, and those were no longer that are running were removed from allocations, and others were scaled back where appropriate. And by doing this, it's going to save about $33,000. Page 10, BCLC. The only projected line increases on expense side comes from food, and as you know, if you go to the grocery store, your food's gone up a lot. We're showing about a 4% increase in that. Page 11, missions. Unfortunately, we're going to have to decrease that budget a little bit. We're looking at about a 25% decrease there on the 2 different line items. Hopefully we can raise some more money and spend it, but we have to make some cuts somewhere. We're going to decrease on page 12 the worship budget by about 6.4%, and I want to note there that Jim runs a really tight ship. But you will see on line 600400, it looks like the modern worship budget is way up, but I need to explain that comes from the fact that we've taken some of the salary that was paid to that worship administrator, and it's now being paid through that line item. So it's no longer a full-time position. So that's why that one line item looks a little up. On page 13, youth ministry, projecting a decrease of about 28.5% in expense. We're going to have the participants in those activities contribute a little bit more towards their activities. or have some additional fundraisers to make up some of those costs. Children's programming down about 26%, mostly coming from the confirmation and the VBS budget. On page 14, campus safety, you'll see an increase of about 35% on that line item. That is attributed to, the guys do a great job, but they are getting a pay raise from Georgetown County. So that's going to increase our cost for our off-duty personnel. Good news is the total expenses have been able to be budgeted to decrease by an average of about 2.5%. Here's the hard part. Between the reduction in our contributions and offerings and the small decrease in expenses, we are budgeted to have a deficit or shortfall next year of about $727,000. And I know everybody's panicking. It's not a great place to be in. However, if you'll go to the cash and investment sheet that y'all were given when you came in tonight, you'll see that we are in a very good position right now. And as one of our committee members reminded us, Jesus would not want us to take this with us to the grave. So there are times that this has and needs to be used, and that are the cases where we can prop up our mission work and the great things that this church does for our community. But it does show that we have $3.8 million sitting in the bank, another $288,000 in annuities. Our endowment fund has $2.1 million. So in the bank, we have sitting $6.2 million. Are there any questions? Okay. Do I need to call for anything? Nope. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry, for the great job.
Thank you, Terry, and your whole team. Since this comes from a team, it does not require a second. So if you do not have any other questions for Terry or Paul, because I certainly can't answer them, I'm going to call for the vote. Does anyone have any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor of the 2025 budget signify by saying aye. All those opposed, same sign. Budget is approved. Thank you, Terry. And now I'm going to turn it over to Cliff and trustees.
Good afternoon. Hope everybody's doing well. First thing I want to do is take a minute and talk about Bobby Street and his many years of service here at Blaine. Bobby never shied away from his service here to this church on many, many levels. Bobby loved his church, and it showed in his willingness to work. I personally miss his help and his expertise in the many years that he and I shared on trustees, and his presence and service will be sorely missed in the years to come. And just wanted to let everybody know how I feel about Bobby. I'm sure the rest of you do as well. Moving right along, there's been a lot of conversation in recent weeks about the September trustee meeting. A lot of talk about trustees overstepping their responsibilities as it relates to the agreement for closure and separation, the form that is required by the United Methodist Church. At that meeting, some trustees felt that it might be a good idea to retain counsel to ensure that the agreement was being correctly completed and to answer any questions that may arise going forward from either party, from either side. As everyone knows, church is run by a committee, and that being the case, trustees had a thorough discussion of the matter. Trustees voted and with some dissent made a recommendation to church council that we retain said council. I requested that this recommendation be on the agenda for this meeting, but after a ruling from the district superintendent that this could not be allowed, I asked that it be removed from the agenda. The trustees have not, in light of this opinion, sought counsel, retained counsel. So that's where that is right now. Everybody good? All right. As an update, tell you what's going on, the Macklin Avenue Macklin Avenue property has closed. Funds are in the bank. The net, might miss it by nickels and dimes, $1,385,000 is in the bank. As you can obviously see, the boat landing roadway is underway, and if we can get through a little bit of public comments, wasn't sure how to state that, we can get that done as well. And that's everything I've got as far as the trustees, other than I'll turn it over to Paul for us going through the checklist for closure and separation tonight that's required by the United Methodist Church. Everybody all right? All right.
What's going on with the Oliver's Lodge property? Is that closed or is that finished yet?
The Oliver's Lodge property?
Well, is that called Oliver's Lodge?
Oh, the King property is what I refer to, the little lot up front. Yes, we own that property.
Think that is so. How much did we buy that for?
What was the number?
$280,000.
280.
Who was the realtor for the sale on Macklin, and how much money did they earn,
Bobby Street, and it was 6% of the sales price.
which was what?
Right around $90,000.
Thank you.
Anything else? I'll turn it over to Paul. Thank y'all.
Yes, sorry, move the mic over here. I'll try and talk up loud enough. Can everybody hear me? Yep. Good. I'm going to move right through the checklist. It is a duty of church council to be informed of, it is trustees' responsibility to prepare the checklist, but it's church council's, the pastor, after the package has been submitted, has to assert to the district that this is an informed decision made with all information before church council. So it's in that line that I want to present to you. It'll take a few minutes, but we're going to go through the discernment package, and you'll see that there's a lot involved. And if you have any questions, again, my back's to you. Just shout out and I'll answer. The checklist begins with the appraisal of church property. And because our property is complex, we have to break it up. This is an appraisal of the annex, and you can see that it's appraised at $165,000, and this appraisal is current. It was done a couple weeks ago, and that property is so much more valuable. There's so much going on there, but for real estate purposes, it's appraised as a residence, so that is $165,000. Now, there's one appraisal, and it's the big appraisal that is not here yet. Was promised by tonight, but it hasn't gotten here yet, and that is the appraisal of all the other aspects that make up the church. The King property, the sanctuary property, the BCLC, the Family Life Center, the field. As soon as that's available, I'll make you aware of that. And it's always good to have a notary in the church, is that we need to prepare a document that says that either our property is pledged in collateral on a loan, or none of it is pledged on collateral with collateral. So you can see that I'm saying that that we have no debt. None of our property has a lien or anything else going on about it. If anybody sees where my cursor is and sees the lease, word lease, let me know. That would have been really helpful if I had done that. Thank you. So you can see that we're really encumbered by our leases. We have a $174 a quarter, that was tongue-in-cheek, $174 for a postage meter, $225 for a copier, and $26 a month for a water cooler. And again, in these documents, attached to this, going to the conference, will be a copy of all those leases that's required. All right, we're going to go, the next thing on the checklist is all our deeds. And we're going to start with the King property. You can see that's, I try to bury them in information. This is a overhead view from the tax map of the property involved. And that is the King property. And that is the deed, again, showing that the deed is recorded as of March 2024 in the county's records. The next one, this one's a little more complicated this year, is the field. We no longer own the Macklin lots, and if you recall, and that we'll get to that a little bit later, is that kind of where, let me put my cursor there, where the road's going, the county now owns that. They have the deed on that, and this deed, where the cursor is, for the old roadway, is in escrow and will be delivered to us once the boat landing is opened up. And again, there's a copy of the recorded deed for that. Next property is the sanctuary property. And again, it kind of, our deeds are kind of shows you how our church grew and property was acquired over time. And there's the deed for the church property. And again, in 2000, a lot of this was cleaned up by trustees, but that deed is properly recorded with Georgetown County. We're going to move on to the cemetery, and I'm going to call this cemetery, we're going to start with old, because that's what I am. That's the old historic section of the cemetery. And there is the deed for that. Again, the work of trustees and church council to clean this all up. You can see that date is in 2000. I think a lot of that stemmed from the time when we incorporated as a nonprofit. Then the new section. And you can see that was I believe, if I could ask the historians, but that was a gift from the Blaine Trust for future cemetery development. And that's kind of where, the annex would be right there, but it's separately appraised. So this will be valued as church property, which will make it a lesser value than if it was commercial.
Can you scroll down a little bit on that one? Just so we can see the, yeah.
There's the deed.
I was looking at the county information.
Oh, okay. You need to see that?
Yeah, okay.
Then we're going to move on to, are you good, or can we move on?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. To the business end of campus, you can see this is primarily the office, the BCLC, and the Family Life Center, and the Scout Hut. And again, that deed work all cleaned up in 2000. The last part involving deed work is the quitclaim agreement between ourselves and the county. And again, this just covers that the road, kind of as it says, they have ownership of where the road's being built right now, and we'll get our deed once the road's completed. And I had this question today, again, it does call for the milling and hydroseeding of the old roadway. The next item on the checklist is any articles for the endowment. The the endowment team redid these within the last couple of years. So again, there's 8 pages of records there, but the articles are prepared and ready to go. The next is and again, I want to show you that, and to kind of echo what Cliff said, is that Bobby Street cared very deeply. One of his great passions was the cemetery, and that it was always true to honoring those that have their permanent residence there, their godly residence there, and he just wanted to make sure it was always first class, from the trees being cleared to improving the columbariums to just about everything. Bobby had his handprint on it. So this is the cemetery policy, again, working with Wendy and a small subcommittee. Bobby put this together. Again, those are all our cemetery rules. And I know I'm going through this rather fast. I'm going to tell you what the recommendation from trustees and in talking with Will is to how we handle a more thorough review. If any members of council want a more thorough review, we'll kind of go over that at the end and how we could do that. The conference asked for the responsible party to provide, should the church choose to disaffiliate, the responsible party for ensuring that they get digital records of everything that existed up to that point in time, to the point of the church's separation. And it asked for a person to be designated as responsible. I put myself in there, and trustees affirmed that. The next one is a statement on district assistance. This is not, again, because this is a blessed church. This would be if a church had to draw on conference funds or during the last 10 years. Blaine, again, has not had to do that, and this is a statement that we have no responsibility for conference financial assistance. Statement on pending litigation, and just again, a statement that we are not aware of any pending or threatened litigation. Contacts at Blaine, it says who would be the contacts during this process. It would be the senior pastor, myself, Terry Larkin as head of finance, and Cliff Smith as head of trustees. We are, in most all of our real estate transactions of late, and in this process last year, we had good counsel of Dan Stacy, and we're putting this forward as the Dan will represent it up until a point in time if the church decides to disaffiliate, and then I think it would be, if that was the case, then that party could keep Dan on, or select an attorney of their own. There requires that if we do choose to disaffiliate, that we have to have designated trustees who will then be the people that would sign the documents going forward. And those representatives are Cliff Smith, of the trustees chair, and Jay Sims as a member of trustees. Sometimes I outsmart myself, folks. I'm looking for Blaine affiliates. There it is. This asks if we have any other entities under our control, and the BCLC, I put it in here in as abundance of caution. It is under our tax ID number, our federal employment number. But I just, for, again, more information that they have, the better. So that just says that the BCLC is an affiliated group of this church. A big section of the process is that we are adequately insured. You know, this is something that continues to take up a big part of our budget, but we are very well insured for just about anything that can happen. And I'm very confident in it, but we are looking this year and have actually gotten some recommendations that we're moving forward with to see if we can lower those rates. One of the things that the conference requires is that we get a certificate of insurance, which we already have done, naming the South Carolina Conference as an additional insurer. The last pages are two statements. And one of the major things are statements, and one of the things that causes insurances goes up is the claims of counseling or clergy abuse nationwide. And so we have to make two statements on, and the first one is any acts of molestation or sexual misconduct and what I'd like to do is I'm going to move forward because there is and I'll come back as to why. And then this is a statement on pastoral counseling or misconduct. And you can see that we answered that we have not, and we have to list all of our pastors, and this is signed by the trustees, and Cliff, I just didn't update it before that, Cliff and Jay have just signed these forms. But you see we have to list anyone that's been associated with the church in the last 20 years. And Sandra, you get to be there twice. And we're so happy to have you. The last thing I wanted to say is that we are missing that one key piece. And what trustees kind of voted for tonight, and we have the pastor's blessing on this, is that once that final piece has been received, that we will put it all on a binder in the office, and it will be available to be reviewed by a member of church council for 2 weeks. Just because there's some confidential information in there, we're going to ask that everybody log in. So you'll have to sign in, and there'll be an acknowledgement there that you cannot photograph or make a copy or do anything with the information you see, just due to the sensitive nature of some of the things that are in these documents. So, again, trustees, we just met at 4:30 so that we could make this recommendation to you, minus the report from IRR, which is the appraiser. We feel that we're ready to submit the documents, but to be compliant with the checklist, church council will have to be offered a period of review so that we can meet that standard. So I turn it back over to Jessica unless there's any questions on what I've presented. Thank you very much.
I'll make it work. That's fine. All right. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, trustees. I know that's obviously a lot of work, so the council will wait for that notice that all the items are there and can review it at your leisure, and we will go from there. All right. Do I have any other team reports?
I want to let everybody know that we are well on our way for barbecue week. Everything's been finalized. All of the logistics have been made and so forth. So we're moving on pretty fast now. We'll have great weather next weekend and everything. So I hope to see everybody here on Saturday. If not, you can have us vacuum pack some barbecue for you. We are going to do that for several people. All right, thank you.
Any other team reports? All right. If not, we'll go to staff reports. Any staff reports?
So thank you, Jeff, for talking about the Fall Harvest Festival. Just wanted to reinstate it's this Saturday. Come buy some barbecue. We would love to have some more donations for our silent auction. We definitely need baked goods, so if you can bake or know somebody that bakes, or you can go by Food Line. Bring us some nice treats for that. We have basketball signups have already started, and so our A and B league, which is our K2, 3, 4, they are already full. We have a waiting list. Our 5th and 6th, we're about 3/4 the way full, so it's going fabulous. We're going to probably end up with 22 basketball teams. So our golf tournament is less than 30 days away. So we are looking for sponsorships. We are also looking for teams. So please email or see me or one of our mission team members. For the hurricane victims, I mean, that's just been incredibly sad for most of Western North Carolina, part of South Carolina, and Florida. So the best way, I know you've seen it on the Now page, to give to Victims for Helene, please go to our giving page on our website, go over to General Fund, go down to UMCOR, and please give there. That is the best way that we can help victims. They're already there, they're already helping, they know what's needed. They also have relationships with like big companies where they can get discounts on things. So that is the best way to help these victims. So please look at our Now page. Samaritan's Purse, Operation Christmas Shoe Boxes. They will be out. in October 14th. So they're coming. Sorry, October 20th. Angel Tree will be out November the 10th. So we got a lot of stuff going on in missions. Thank you so much.
She's short. So in adult ministries, I'm Mary Malik. We have upcoming October 18th, 19th, and 20th, our Blaine Bowl Women's Retreat. We are full. It is going to be a great weekend with amazing spiritual growth, laughter, and good food. Exciting news for our adult ministries. Mark your calendars. We're having our first annual Blaine Family Fishing Day at the Surfside Pier on November the 2nd. It is a good time to bring your family, bring your kids, bring your grandchildren, prove that you're a better fisherman than J.T. Brown. And then on November the 9th, mark your calendars, we're having an outdoor movie night. Hopefully that'll be great. Thank you.
Well, there's no fish in Georgetown right now. All the water's fresh because of the hurricane. So. But things have been going well. We've had it's wedding season, so I've enjoyed doing a lot of weddings recently. We've also had a lot of funerals, so meeting with people at either ends of life. But that's always a good opportunity, and it's always nice to worship. I've really enjoyed our Bible year programming. I've also enjoyed playing pickleball on Thursdays with our group that's out there. There's a lot of good going around this church, as there always is. And we know there's angst, and we know there's feelings, but there's so much good too. And we know that God is in all of it. So I encourage you to be present. Come and see, and put yourself out there, because we need all of us here doing ministry. That's what church is.
All right, everybody else had to do finally a microphone that fits. Well, as most of you know, I have been here 3 months. It seems in a good way like a lot longer than that, and that is largely because of you. The two pastors have been most gracious in helping me learn and navigate all the new things. Things have changed in 20 years. It is amazing. Technology just kept going. And the staff, thank you. The staff is absolutely wonderful. When they see me wandering, they just sort of point me in the right direction. And thank you to the congregation. It's been good to reconnect and to connect with new people, and you've heard, of course, how busy things are, and the pastoral care is paramount for all three of us. And I'm going to say, I hope it's okay that I say this for the three of us. I have said this everywhere I've ever been, and those of you who knew me 20 years ago when I was on the list the last time, if you know of something that we need to know about, even if you think we have heard it 50 times, would you please be the 51st? Because sometimes it's the first. And it is hard for us, it pains us when we miss something because we didn't know. So we're really depending on you all to help us with that. But thank you, you're all so gracious and kind, and to the two of you, thank you for welcoming me as one of the pastoral team. Thank you.
Well, we're grateful to welcome you. We're grateful to be in service together. Some of this will be some details that go along with what you've already been hearing. Grateful for the generosity that's been poured out lately, over $10,000 given to Epworth, the blessing of the animals yesterday. There was a pile of goods as well as some cash given for the local shelter. When it comes to Helene and Umpqua, got this report just as I was coming over here, 11,491 already given to United Methodist Committee on Relief, and in addition to that, 1,520 to the Flood Bucket Supplies Funds. So we're over 13,000 already that's been given. So that's really wonderful, and it is more demonstration of the care that is so evident in this congregation. The Fall Harvest Festival will be taking care of our local neighbors with what's raised from that. So we try to care near and far, and that's so wonderful. It goes along with our stewardship theme for the year to come. You know, everyone's aware it's the centennial of Blaine in 2025. And so our theme for the year, or for the stewardship campaign, is A Century of Care, A Future to Share. We're grateful for the century of caring that's been so much part of our church for the 100 years we have been in existence, and we're excited about the future that will also be part of that. I'm grateful to the Centennial team preparing us for the year of celebrations. JT mentioned weddings and funerals. It has been seeming more lately, so I'm thankful to have persons with whom to share the load. That includes the pastors, but also includes Jim and Chip, and it includes the staff who get things ready here, and if we have a bereavement there, the people who help the cemetery. There are a lot of people involved every time we have a funeral, and there are a lot of people involved every time we have a wedding. The directors, the people who have done so much and continue to help us minister. It's a gift to everybody involved when we do ministry well together. If you were here earlier today, you would have seen Paul Gardner in shorts. That is a rare sight. So he was in shorts earlier, he's in suit now, and that speaks to what Paul's been up to. He's helping get the things going for the barbecue and Fall Harvest Festival, but he also was wanting to celebrate Bobby Street's life and helping us do work with the finance and with the trustees so we could have everything ready. So thank you, Paul, for all you've done. Thank you, Terry, for the work you and Paul did to help our finance team be ready and have an important conversation, not an easy conversation anytime you're talking about that. Thank you to the staff who recognized the financial challenges this year, and not a single person complained or was concerned the fact that the staff are not even getting a cost of living raise recommended in that budget, that we're staying flat with all salaries, and the staff besides BCLC, and their increase is made possible by the grant that Amanda helped secure. So I'm thankful that the staff recognizes the challenges we're facing and is willing to keep doing ministry with that going on. Thank you to all the trustees and Cliff for your leadership through a very difficult time and all the work. We saw document after document that you all had to work with Paul to prepare and have ready for this. We're grateful for that checklist. But let's not forget also the playground enhancements they've been working on, the wonderful staircase walkway in the garden that connects the cemetery back to the Family Life Center. It's such an added benefit for everybody. Today, you know, in past when we've had a cemetery committal service and needed to get to the Family Life Center, we'd have people wandering in all directions because it was either not obvious or there wasn't a good path. Now, to see that line go straight to the Family Life Center, an indication that it's clearly working well. And then the road project, which is so big and important, and we've been waiting for so many years, so thank you for that as well. So a lot of going on, a lot that is important in the life of our church family and important in our community, and is a way of, even this day, you know, to celebrate a century of caring and a future that we will continue to share. So we're grateful for y'all.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all that the three of you do each and every day. I don't have any old business other than we continue to still be in discernment, and I just want you to know that Ross and I have talked, and we're going to meet in the next few days or whatever and begin to think about what we do as we go forward to help answer questions, because I know there are a lot of questions out there, so we're going to try to figure out how to do that. I don't think we want another education team. I don't know what we want, so we're going to get together and discuss that and keep working on that. So we'll let you know as that moves forward. Does anyone else have any old business? Anyone have any new business? Yes.
It's a statement.
Sure, if you want to make a statement.
I'm Jane Eason, and I represent the Breakfast Club. If you are curious about all of the equipment, all of the boat ramp stuff, please make a point to come Wednesday morning to breakfast. Paul is our guest speaker at 8:30. We'll have more of Paul. He is going to tell us exactly where the road is going to be, what's going on, what is going to be constructed now, what will be later. And if you can find a better breakfast for $3, tell me. Henrietta comes at 6:30 with a team, and she starts her pot of grits at 6:30. We serve them at 8:30. I'd love to see everybody here at breakfast to hear Paul, and he will start at 9. Thank you.
I guess more Paul's a good thing.
I did get some comments on the shorts.
So,
Get
well,
some sun on my legs.
maybe you should wear them to the breakfast. Do we have any other prayers, concerns, or praises other than those that have already been mentioned?
JT, did you want to talk about Linda Lee?
So y'all may remember, I hope you remember Linda Lee Powell Lee. She worked here before I got here for a long time and retired not long ago. But we got a call Friday night that she had a fall and they found a tumor on her brain. So she was in Grand Strand. We saw her that night and she had surgery scheduled for the next morning. The last report that we had is that she's doing well, recovering. They removed the tumor. Hopeful, but certainly keep her in your prayers, along with Brandy and all of our staff. But so a lot of needs going around, as Sandra said. And I forgot to say, another great thing was the blessing of the animals. Who knew? The dogs are such a blessing, but the people love them. So keep Linda Lee, Brandy, and the whole church in your prayers.
I had a question. I'm not sure if, before, not a prayer, just a question. Paul or Jessica, you said the documents will be available for council members over in your office for 2 weeks?
Yes, and we'll let you know when the clock starts ticking. We don't want to put them out there until we have the final appraisal.
Understood. But after that 2-week review time, then we'll have a vote? Is that how it goes?
No,
I thought you said the council has to vote on something. I misunderstood, I apologize.
Trustees is already in discernment, and part of the discernment process is that the trustees are then tasked with preparing the checklist. So once that checklist is completed and ready to go, we can submit to the conference.
All right, thank you. I misunderstood.
Yes, ma'am.
Charlie Turner had knee surgery this morning, had knee replacement this morning.
Okay. Keep Charlie in our prayers. Yes. Wesley Gordon's is Friday at 2, correct? Okay. Wesley Gordon, Joe Gordon's dad. Okay. Anything else? All right. Our next meeting will be our charge conference, which is November 12th, which is a Tuesday at 7 p.m. And now I'm going to ask Lauren Steele, one of our youth vice presidents, to close us in prayer.
Hi, if y'all would just bow your heads with me, please. Dear Lord, I pray for the Street family, Linda Lee, Charlie, and Wesley, and that you would just be with them all and watch over them. I lift up those affected by the hurricane and just what is to come, and that you would just provide safety and protection for them. I pray for Fields of Faith upcoming this Wednesday, and that all the youth attending will just feel a sense of community and your love there. I pray for patience, kindness, guidance, and relief through these rough times, and I pray for our community, our church, and our council. Lord, I pray this in your name. Amen.
This meeting's adjourned. Safe travels home. And thank you.
Slowly.